So the word whom is basically related to the object of the sentence, not the subject, right? Who did this? Who did this? Who did this? Well, if we say who did this, that's going to be a person, right? And we're going to be talking about the person who did the action, did this, whatever this is, right? Maybe there's some blue paint on the wall, and a mother has 6 children, and she wants to know which child did this, right? And there are 6 of them here, and she says, who did this? Timmy? Tommy? Tammy? Tommy? Whatever their names are. Doomy? Whatever their names are. Who did this? Which person? Okay? The subject is who. Now, whom is related to the object, the receiver of the sentence. So the subject is the one that does the action. The object is the one that gets the action, receives the action, or maybe the purpose of the action is that person. So we might say, for whom? For whom? Now, I want to be clear though. Correctly, grammatically, we'll say for whom. For whom did you do this? Or you did this for whom? Sometimes. That is technically grammatically correct, but a lot of people don't say it, even though it's grammatically correct. Instead of saying for whom, we'll say for who. I got this gift. I bought this. Oh yeah? Oh yeah? For whom? Most people will say, for who? For who? Who did you get it for? Who did you get it for? Okay, so a lot of the time, even when whom, which is the object of the action related to the subject does the action, we should use whom, but we don't use whom. And it's not that it's falling out of the language, it's just that it's maybe getting a little bit less common in spoken English, I would say. That's generally how it's used. Sometimes we'll use other prepositions like by whom. By whom. Again, it's not common to say that. It's technically grammatically correct, right? By whom was it written is a technically grammatically correct sentence. By whom? By whom was this written? By whom was this written? That is something called the passive voice. But most people will say, who wrote this? Who wrote this? Who wrote this? So when we want to use passive voice, we could use whom instead of who. But usually we encourage people to use active voice, especially when they're writing, to make their writing sound more active and interesting. An example of passive and active voice would be, Tom turned the TV off. Okay, that would be active voice. Tom is the subject, turned is the verb, and the TV is the object of the subject of the verb, and off is what happened to the TV. It's actually an adverb. Okay, Tom turned the TV off. The TV was turned off by Tom. The TV was turned off by Tom. This one is the opposite. We start with the object of the sentence, the thing that's getting the action, the TV. And then we put the actual subject at the end, by, okay? This is another way of putting it. Why would we do this? Why would we want to say the TV was turned off by Tom? Well, sometimes we're focused on the TV. If we do that, we'll probably just take Tom out. The TV was turned off last night. And then we'll find out who did it, maybe. But sometimes we'll just take that part off. Just remove it. We'll leave it because we don't need to know. It doesn't matter. The bank was robbed last night. The bank was robbed last night. Now we could say, by 3 men in black masks. We could add that. By 3 men in black masks. Often, if it doesn't matter, if we're focused on the bank, then we'll say, the bank was robbed last night. The bank is the object of the verb. The verb is robbed. Okay. That's why we use passive voice. Generally speaking, when we want to put emphasis or focus on the object of the action, not the subject. Now, if the story is about the 3 masked men, then we'll say 3 masked men robbed a bank last night. Okay, that makes sense. But it depends on what our focus is. If we don't care about the 3 masked men, then instead we are going to say the bank was robbed by 3 masked men. That's how it works. That's how it's usually used. A lot of people get confused with the active and passive thing, But that's generally speaking, that's it. You just flip it around.